A chance to even up the series tonight, and then could be a whole new ball game. Anthony Lima, Daryl Ryder in for the final time before Ken returns from his big trip yesterday.
Do we know officially if they're letting him off the boat?
Yeah, I think he's off the boat. I think he's back in town. I believe he is. So Ken told me, he texted me yesterday, he'd be listening very intently, because you know how it is, this show. Looking for every edge, because, Ken wants to prove himself. And it's good that he'll have the opportunity to do that. Anyway, Daryl and today, Chris Fedor will join us at 9 o'clock. I had a lengthy conversation with Chris at the basketball game on Saturday, which was just pandemonium. The Cavs, they built up this lead. They looked like a different team. People were starting to believe again, and then it came crashing down immediately as they blew a 17-point lead. And then it was the Max Strus and James Harden show. Of all people, in the fourth quarter, Donovan's the rest of his game was spectacular. He looked like he was rejuvenated, and then he handed it off to, the other guys to bring it home, and they did. So 116-109, the final score. James made 3 of his vintage signature moves, and my question is, was it a stay of execution, Daryl? When you were watching that, do you think that was sustainable, or do you think ultimately things are pointing in the opposite direction for a game like tonight, a late one tonight?
Well, they got a stay of execution on Saturday, right? Had they lost that, we're doing a funeral this morning. So if they can win tonight and tie this series, reset everything, they'll be fine. But, James Harden still early in the game, sloppy handling the basketball. I don't know how much the hand is affecting some of these turnovers we're seeing.
His handle looked fine in the fourth.
Yes, it did.
They could not take the ball from him later in that game. I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we saw in I'd say the final 4 minutes of that game, Anthony, is exactly why the Cavaliers made that trade. That, I think, was the first time this postseason where we really saw the dividends. Because Harden has struggled taking care of the basketball and struggled a little bit offensively. The Cavs as a team have struggled a little bit shooting the three-pointer, which is a little concerning to me. And Kenny Atkinson had said something before Game 3 on Saturday that caught my attention about the physicality. And, hey, they're trying to wear us down. We're trying to wear them down. And when you're worn down, that typically leads to lower shooting percentage. You're not as effective shooting the three ball. So, and I don't want to put words in Kenny's mouth, but I read that as we're getting worn down a little bit, and the three-point shooting is down as a result of it, and we have to find other areas to compensate for that. Because he also made it very clear they can't win this series just jacking threes. That's just not going to happen. Also, by the way, Detroit is not going to win this series trying to outshoot the Cavaliers. Okay? So I think there's a couple of different dynamics, but this is the ebbs and flows of a playoff series. We've seen this with Detroit before, where the Cavs fall down 0-2 in a 7-game series. They roar back, and they either win in 6 or 7 games. Hopefully, this is a repeat of that. I liked, for the most part, everything I saw Saturday from the Cavs. Donovan Mitchell, at times, tried to play some defense. James Harden, at times, tried to play some defense. So I really liked at times what I saw from the Cavs, even that third quarter, where they blew the tire, right? They blew the lead. All of a sudden, it's a new game and all that. The looks that they were getting and missing were good looks. They weren't forcing anything. And so you have
I thought the ball moved better than it had in a while.
Like, you have to chalk that up to that's basketball.
I mean, in the fourth quarter, obviously, it's late in the fourth. Anybody that understands how the NBA works, it's not really about ball movement late in the fourth.
Right.
You do win close games to gut things out. You do have to there is a level of shot making,
yes.
Right? You saw Cade Cunningham do that. Cade had Max Strus on him and drove right by him for a dunk, and then, Max Strus is going to take a step back, ready for me to drive. I'll just bury a top of the key three.
Yeah.
No problem, no questions asked. And so late in the game, it is a bunch of standing around and watching the guys do it at the highest. I saw a lot of people asking the question afterwards, do you trust James Harden now? And I'm like, Man, I don't understand why we're in a position to have to trust him to this extent.
Well,
how is it with the most expensive roster in the NBA? Does James, after those 2 games that he started the series, he played 40 minutes on Saturday?
Yeah.
He has more minutes in the playoffs than Donovan Mitchell right now. I never, in all my pleas to make that, after they made the trade, to tell people that this was a good trade, that this made sense, that he was a clear playoff upgrade over Darius Garland.
Yes, because he'd actually be on the floor playing.
Well, not only that, but he's actually had monster playoff games where Darius has had few and far between, and much more reliable in terms of rebounding, and actually does, believe it or not that he's a great defender, but he gets some steals, he gets blocks that Darius never gets. So he's an upgrade on offense and defense. And obviously the experience, and he's available. What I wasn't arguing for was that he would replace Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley as the go-to guy on the team. And at times in the playoffs,
mean down the stretch?
At times he's played more minutes than Donovan Mitchell. They trust James Harden more than anybody else, and to that I'm a little surprised.
Well,
I did not expect that.
I do have a confession. Is I was watching that final 90 seconds, the two dribble drives to the basket for Harden. I didn't trust him when he took that 3 with 30.
Why would you?
When he took that 3-pointer with 30 seconds to go, I didn't trust him.
I was there, Daryl. I was petrified
until it went through the net. I didn't trust him.
I didn't mind the shot. I was worried he was going to fall down.
Yeah,
on the dribbles, right? But I mean, that's what we'd seen in game 2.
Have his crossover taken.
Yeah,
I was real nervous, but I do get it. I talked about this yesterday on my show. The hardest thing in sports sometimes is to stick with it when it's not going well. And Kenny Atkinson's sticking with it. 3-point shooting isn't falling. They're sticking with it. James Harden's turning the ball over, dribbling it off his feet, whatever. They're sticking with him. Like, the hardest thing to do is to stick with the plan when it's not going well. The easy thing to do is to pivot and make changes, which, by the way, this time of year, understandable because there's a sense of urgency. And that game Saturday was really the first time I felt this team had a sense of urgency. Like, it took you to being down 0-2 in this series before the light bulb went off. You realized your season was flashing in front of your eyes. Kenny Atkinson finally got the memo that, hey, I can't play Donovan Mitchell 34 minutes like I do in the regular season in the playoffs. I can't play Evan Mobley regular season minutes in the play. You have to extend the minutes of your star players. I kind of feel like just like looking around the league, Anthony, the Cavs are the only team trying to play their starters regular season minutes in the playoffs. They're doing load management. And I'm like, and I had said this in the Toronto series. I criticized this, and they got away with it in that series. You're not going to get away with it in this one. So I do like the fact that Kenny got the memo, extended the minutes a little bit. Both Harden and Mitchell probably need to be in that 38, 39, 40-minute window. I would argue if he's out of foul trouble, same thing with Evan Mobley. He needs to be in that time frame as well. But
I thought Evan was sensational on defense. I know so much of his offensive game is under the microscope, but he looked to me to be every part. And I know he only had the 1 rebound in game 2. Yeah. And I brought it up. Everybody brought it up. I mean, 1 rebound for a center. And people have gone back at the film and they said, well, actually, he's creating rebounds for other people.
Kenny and the teammates addressed that. They said, hey, he's not getting the rebounds. But look, Donovan Mitchell got 10 rebounds on Saturday. The guards are picking it up because Evan is picking up the Pistons bigs and trying to get them away from the basket so that the guards can swoop in and grab the rebounds. And okay, I'll hear that to a degree, but I also understand those that are like looking at that box score and they see 1 rebound from it. It was kind of fun. He had 8 of them on Saturday, and I either posted it on X or I made the crack when he got his first rebound, and then he got his second one, and I said, hey, look, Evan Mobley has doubled his rebounding total from game 2 in the first quarter. Being a little sarcastic and facetious about it, but I get the criticism, but I understand Kenny Atkinson's explanation. If the supporting cast is picking up the rebounding slack, it's okay. The problem is they're losing the possession game. The possession
they got
game.
annihilated on the offensive glass in that game. Yeah,
they're losing that possession game, which is a very important metric for Atkinson and the Cavaliers. That's not good. And yeah, you are when you're getting beat on the glass. The one rebound thing for Evan isn't acceptable, but he was fantastic. I thought Saturday afternoon. I love what I saw from him, especially as you said on the defensive end of the floor. We got to see a little of that defensive player of the year.
Well, they'd love him, Dale. They would love him to guard Cade Cunningham. The problem is they can't, because if he's on Cade Cunningham, then what does that mean? Underneath, because he has done a terrific job. Underneath when it comes to that. But, he's got to cover up for Donovan. He's got to cover up for James Harden. Max Strus' energy is incredible. We'll hear from Max next segment because, do they win the game unless he just steals that inbounds pass? He forced another bad inbounds pass. He does all those little things. He's supercharged the little things, too.
He's the supercharged version of Matthew Dellavedova.
Well, it's been awesome.
To me, he's kind of like a mashup of Delly and Andy Varejao, and I'm just trying to think of some of the other really good Cavalier energy guys, disruptor guys that get under the opponent's skin.
Yeah, it feels like the other teams have so many more of those guys than we have.
Yeah, you need that guy that just annoys the you-know-what out of your opponent. Like, when you're playing against him, you hate him, right? But when he's on your team, you love him. That's Max Strus for the Cavaliers.
He's been awesome at doing all those little things. Like on the possession-by-possession basis, he can't really hang with a lot of the perimeter players in this league, but when it counted, holy cow. But that's all I'm saying is Evan can't guard all these guys, and he can't always even be the last line of defense because it all depends on, the actions that he's going up against. But rewatching a lot of that game, and Evan's defensive prowess was on display. And he does not get even. I know he was Defensive Player of the Year coming into the year. All I've heard this year is, that was such a one-off. The only reason he won it was a fluke, was because Wemby was injured.
I've said that.
Fine. He's still a really good defensive player.
I'm not taking that away from him. But I also feel like the only reason he won that award was because Wemby was hurt.
Well, either way. I was, in attendance for that game on Saturday. It finally felt like a sigh of relief. It also felt like, we have a team that can even build a 17-point lead. I hadn't seen it. Like, honestly, outside of that run in Game 7, right before the first half and into the second half, when have we seen the Cavs play really good basketball in these playoffs?
Well, we've been spoiled, too. Like, I really feel like that LeBron 2.0 from 14 to 18, and just the ease with which he just mopped the floor with the Eastern Conference in the playoffs, the 4-game sweeps, the gentleman sweeps, right? Very rarely did they get to a 6th or a 7th game. I know the Pacers, they had a 7th game against them and knocked out Indiana, but like LeBron and that group made the playoffs look so easy. I almost feel like that's why Cavs fan is struggling right now with this team, and
because none of it's going to be easy.
Right, this is how the playoffs go. It's tough to win on the road. Like, you're going to have the ebbs and flows. You're going to be really good at home. You're not going to be so good on the road. You're going to have the role players step up, and it's not going to be the same guy every game. Like, this is how she goes. So I think we got a little spoiled. Got to get readjusted to how the NBA playoffs really get.
Extraordinary turn of events. The improbability of Strus. A, being able to time that. B, grab it. And then C, take it all the way in. And D, finish. For all of that to happen, and at that time, how much time was left in a game? It was bonkers.
Like 2:30.
It was absolutely bonkers. I just sat there in disbelief. And it was, maybe you'd call that the biggest reason they won the game. You could also obviously, reference the Harden scoring as well. But do they even get to that spot? And how different are the dimensions of the game if that doesn't happen? Because it's a big difference from playing with a 4-point lead, a 2-point lead, or when you're even or down.
Well, we're used to watching that happen to the Cavs on inbounds plays. So it was a nice.
We've turned the ball over a ton.
176 times, if my math is correct.
Excuse me?
Yeah, 176 times.
In what, this series?
Postseason.
I sat there and I could not believe at that moment, especially considering who was inbounding the ball.
Yes, I'm checking because I wrote it on the box score. Yeah, 100 they entered with 161 turnovers in the playoffs Saturday, plus 15. Owen, check my math here. That does equal 176, does it not?
I just got a new calculator, but yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Me and math do not go well
Yeah, I mean,
together.
they've evened up the last 2 games. They've evened up the turnovers. And Cade Cunningham, and who I did say at the start of the series, is very susceptible to coughing it up. He had 8 turnovers in that game. Now, obviously, Cade's able to make up for it a lot with just how easy he can score and create for the other guys. But, there is a chance. Part of the math of this series, like we just assumed, all right, Harden's already worn down after 2 games when I said it's over. They're not going to win, 4 or 5 games.
We prisoner of the moment coming off the road.
Okay, it's moment 2 days later. I'm still not necessarily saying the Cavs are going to come back and win the series, but at least it gave them a shot. But part of the math of them being able to come back in this series is for guys like Cade Cunningham and his usage, Tobias Harris at his age with his usage, for them also to wear down. Because we've talked so much about Harden and Mitchell wearing down. Okay, I'll tell you, like Cade is, I know he made it look easy in the last 2 minutes, but he is also going to be potentially worn down because he's had to put the whole team on his back. And Tobias Harris is he's having an unbelievable playoffs, but he added another 38 minutes. When is his regression to the mean going to happen? So all I'm trying to do is conjure up a way that the Cavs can do it. But of course, none of it matters unless they win tonight.
No, and Saturday was also the first time in the series where they won the points off turnover battle as well. Because it's not just the turnovers that have been a problem for the Cavaliers, and this goes back to the Toronto series as well. It's the fact that they're giving up tremendous scoring off those turnovers as well. So they finally flipped that script, and they won that battle. They got 27 points off Piston turnovers, 15 of them, while limiting Detroit to 19 points off your 15 turnovers. So the turnovers finally were a wash, no advantage for anybody, but the Cavaliers actually had the scoring advantage off of them. The rebounding's a problem still. You can't keep getting out rebounded, especially on the defensive end of things. You can't allow the Pistons to keep getting these second and third offensive opportunities.
17-5 was the offensive rebounding edge that Detroit had, and it felt like 100 to 5.
Yeah, and it felt like every time the ball came off the rim, Detroit was resetting their offense all over again. And the Cavaliers also, too, I think they need to lower the empty possessions. There are too many empty possessions for the Cavs in these first 3 games where they've got scoring opportunities and they're blowing it either with a quick shot, even if it's open, or going to the basket and not finishing at the rim, but just too many empty possessions. So they need to cut that down too. After seeing Saturday's game, I'm more optimistic than I was.
About what? Optimistic?
Of their ability to come back and win this series.
The whole series? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Now, going into Saturday's game, no, I was not optimistic at all. I was extremely cynical. I was writing the eulogy. Like when they blew the 17-point lead, I started doing, okay, how many let them knows can we let them know our season is over? Let them know we blew it again in the second round of the playoffs. Let them know we're going to have to blow the team up. Let them know Kenny Atkinson's getting fired. I was just going through and just, writing the eulogy of them being down 0-3.
They're going to have to win. They lost the possession battle in this game. That's part of the reason that the rebounding disparity, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting to take way more shots than the Cavs are. Kenny brought it up in the postgame on the possession battles. Here's Kenny after the game.
That's a little lucky on our part. We can't have, and rebounding's a big part of the possession game. So our big guys are down there wrestling with their big guys. Donovan had 10 rebounds, right? That's what we need. He did it last year in the Indiana series. He's got to do it all. Guard's got to rebound. James has got to rebound. Max has got to rebound. Those guys, they have such great big guys that offensive rebound. It's going to be a guard rebounding emphasis because we can't have another game where we're losing a possession game by 14. It's not sustainable.
A big part of that.
By the way, that's I think the third time this postseason I've heard him say something like that.
Which is
about the possession game and losing it, and they can't. It's not sustainable, and they can't keep doing this expecting they're going to win games.
Yeah, game 2 comes to mind because it felt like we were in the wrong positions every single time. Sometimes on the offensive glass, it's going to be just luck, right? Like, of course, on the air ball 3, it goes right to their guy. Like, that's stuff you can't plan for. In
You
game
can't
2,
lose a rebound off a missed free throw, though.
Right. And there's
that's an effort. That's a boxing out. That's fundamentals. And how many times have we seen that in the postseason?
Evan's been victimized by those, here and there.
Those drive me nuts.
I'll just say this: 216-474-0092, and coming up next segment, we actually have a baseball trade. We'll talk about how significant it was because on paper we traded for that guy and that bat,
and gave up that to do it.
Yeah, well, I'll explain when we come back after the break. But just focusing on what I was feeling like, because a lot of this is emotions, right? I'm sure you probably thought, Lima was at the game. He's been saying so much about James Harden. James Harden makes those shots. Lima's going to come back and flip-flop on the series. Okay, honestly, I didn't. I thought to myself, man, that was awesome. It was great to see him wake up vintage James Harden.
Tonight?
I'm not going tonight. No, I will not be there tonight.
It's kind of hoping that,
I think part of it is how late it's going to start.
More of the James Harden. I'm going to show Lima.
Well, hey,
I'm going to show that Lima guy.
I was ecstatic to see it, but I also gave it like a day, slept on it, and I'm like, James Harden played 40 minutes, and the ball was in his hands the entire crunch time. Do we think that's a recipe for success?
Well, how about this, Donovan
Does
Mitchell?
anybody? Am I crazy here?
No, I'm worried about that. I mean, but it seems that the ball's going to be in his hands in crunch time until this season is over. They're not going to move away from that.
Daryl, I'm coming back to this. How in the world do you come into a season with the most expensive roster? You trade for 37-year-old James Harden, and the whole team, the ball has been handed to him with the season on the line.
Well,
how did that happen?
Lost in this is Donovan scored 35.
Well, he looked more like superstar Donovan.
Yeah, he was 13 and 24 from the field. Now, three-point shot wasn't as clean as we're used to seeing from him, but he scored 35, but deferred to James Harden in the final 2 minutes. That's not the first time Donovan Mitchell's deferred late in a basketball game this postseason.
Well, so I want to listen. I would love to do, hey, I told you so, and point to the afternoon show and yell at Nick and say, did you watch that? That's not how I feel today. I got to be honest. I still need to see, more of a complete.
You need to see 11 more of these things.
Well, they built up a 17-point lead. That was awesome, and I was like, all right, this is a little more like it. Finally, I get to see my team look like a more polished, urgent, talented team. But then how quickly that got wiped off the board, I'm like, has anything changed at all?
They need to play tonight with a sense of urgency from the opening tip. The slow starts, that's another thing that's killing them. Can you sit Dean Wade and put Strus back into the starting lineup now? Now, granted, Dean played less than 17 minutes on Saturday, okay?
Right.
And I always argue it's not about who starts, even though that's a great conversation to have, and we always talk about who's starting, who should start. But the Cavs, they've been starting slow. They need to bring the energy tonight. They need to jump out in front from the opening tip, and they need to have their foot on the Pistons' throat the whole night. Not a breath of fresh air, not a scintilla of hope for the Pistons tonight. The Cavs just need to absolutely bludgeon them tonight. That's what has to happen. Granted, okay, just score one more point than them. We're all good. But you understand what I'm saying. They got to come out from the opening tip, jump on them, give yourself an early cushion, maintain that cushion, make life easier on yourself. Make life easier on all of us.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
I don't think Cleveland fan can take these, heart-pounding, nail-biting playoff games with, as you put it, the most expensive roster in the NBA.